And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Cultural Conscious Rasta Report. On Fridays around here, we call it Show Me the Money. And I'm joined by Dr. Steph, and we look at what is happening in the world around us. We look at entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Friday. It is the 25th day of April, 2024 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6265 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we've realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the seventh millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, here on livinginblack.com. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And let me just cue up the mix today. And it absolutely is a pleasure to be with you on this format, on this program, on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. Let me just bring in my co host for the show today, as she is on Fridays. Let me bring in Dr. Steph Aquaba. Welcome. How are you today, my beloved sister?
I'm fantastic, and how are you?
I'm not doing as bad as I look, and I know I look good, so don't go there. And you look great today too. Today, are you in Jamaica or are you in the States?
I'm still in Jamaica, man.
Yes, man, you in
Yeah, so I'm in
Jamaica.
Kingston. I'm in Kingston. Yes, sir.
Okay, so Kingston is doing great. What can you inform us about what's taking place there in Kingston?
Oh, I have some exciting news. I'm going to be working with Trenchtown. We're going to be launching my community ventures plan. And the community ventures plan is so exciting because typically what happens is in communities, real estate developers come in, and oftentimes what happens is by the time communities realize what the developers have been up to, then they say, wow, they gentrified our communities. What happened? We didn't notice what was going on until the construction began. And so they miss all of the, participation. If there's any, they don't get the notices and all of that stuff. Well, I always felt that there was a better way to develop communities and to allow communities to have an opportunity to be engaged and to be part of the benefactors of the new value that's being created in their community. So let's build it inside out. So we're getting to do that in Trenchtown. Not only Trenchtown, I have three key markets that I'm launching initially. Trenchtown is the first. And so what we'll do is the community is invited to come out. They spend a weekend with me. And during that weekend, what we're doing is going through imagining the type of community they like, the types of businesses that they need to have, the type of physical real estate, but more importantly, the types of services and solutions that the community can have, but also an overall community business plan, right? What's going to draw people to their community, and how then once those people come to their community, they will be able to benefit, and they will be able to create sustainable businesses and opportunities. And so I'm just so overjoyed because this is literally like, my happy place. This is where I love to not only engage, but in the engagement, it's the education, the skills transfer. I was the first and only person that produced what used to be known as a startup weekend venture event in South Florida to be involved in that process. You can never undo what you've done, their lives have been changed forever because their connections to the world shifted just by being exposed to that opportunity. So I'm so happy to, present this. It's my own methodology that I've customized from, again, my profession as a real estate developer, but also the double expertise in terms of building and developing businesses. It literally was the plan that I wanted to bring to Inglewood following the Rodney King incident when I trained about, say close to 5,000 businesses before Market Street was, in play. There was a desire, and it was what prompted me to go and become an expert in real estate development. So, it's about setting those intentions and then doing it. And so now I'm able to do it at mass, at scale. So yeah, so
Awesome, awesome.
Trenchtown is first,
Hmm.
Gordontown is next, and then Yalis, which is in St. Thomas. So all of these are within about a half an hour of one another, which make a great opportunity for tourism. And so you can come in and do, a day at each of these locations or longer, and it's going to be really great. And then we're going across the island with the same model,
Hmm.
as well as my resorts opening too. We kind of have a grand opening day for one of the first resorts. We're adding some new protocols that are just, I'm over the moon again with that as well. So we are making outstanding progress.
Awesome, awesome. Now, excuse me, from my understanding, there was a time when Trenchtown was considered to be Jamaica's most notorious ghetto. What has changed since those days?
Well, Trenchtown still is underdeveloped. But immediately adjacent to Trenchtown is a beautiful waterfront. And what I've noticed, just as I always said, you let foreigners come in, they see the waterfront, and suddenly the waterfront is being gentrified. But they stopped a block away because that begins Trenchtown. And so, it's probably a good opportunity, and the reality is that they couldn't develop beyond sort of this line, line in the sand, if you will. And so it takes another type of developer to come in, to be part of the community. And the part that's so exciting is, again, the schools involved. This program is being led by Rastafari Nation, setting up the Trenchtown connection. And because of the Rastafari Nation and their objective to not only connect with the communities here in Jamaica, but throughout the diaspora, they were the, first movers in saying, hey, let's go in, to Trenchtown. This is a key location that has a known brand and a community with opportunities. And so, as a result of being invited into that opportunity, I said, well, then I have a tool, I have a solution. You want, I know how. I have the how to make it happen. So it has become a perfect partnership and opportunity, to make some things happen. And so we have the high schools involved. We have the local organizations, the community associations, and everyone that really is excited and interested in seeing some new things happen.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, this absolutely sounds fantastic. The topic, excuse me, the topic that you picked for today also sounds fantastic. If you don't mind, I'll share that with the listening audience here on today's episode of Show Me the Money with Dr. Steph. Here's what I put up, and you let me know if this sounds like it's appropriate. Here, bear with me. Today is Africa's key booming markets, where to invest now. So today on Halaby Radio, we look closely at Africa, where we can identify several rapidly transforming markets with an eye to investing for the future. There are several opportunities where we are being welcomed on the continent. It is an opportunity that we would be foolish to overlook. Why should others be eating at our table while we stand aside and watch them gorge themselves. Your thoughts on that topic for today?
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so of course you always add a little extra, spin on it. Absolutely. No, it's absolutely true. I mean, the reality is when you think about it, when you go into the country rich with resources, what it takes to build a successful business is that you need a customer that you believe that you're going to provide a solution for. And you need to understand that customer and what their pain points are. And then after you figure out what it is that you want to solve, then you need a few things. You need materials. Oftentimes you need access to labor, right? And you need resources to build out those things. And Africa presents rich resources, rich human resources, talented young people, eager, hungry to learn, to be developed, to be groomed, to be given an opportunity. You have um, abundance of materials that are
Mm,
needed from agriculture, from particular minerals that are available, from particular, you name it, it's in abundance. That's where everyone else is going to get it. Is they're getting it from Africa, and then they're branding it in their country. They're selling it to you marked up. They're paying pennies for those raw ingredients, and then they come produce them and sell them back, oftentimes inflated, to these same countries where they were the one who provided the raw materials. And so what that should say to us is, ah, ah, ah. I must understand how to take raw ingredients, but I need to take them further. I need to be able to develop them into finished goods because I have to add my value so that there's an increased value. And that a lot of times is missing. When I talk to entrepreneurs and we talk about the exit, they think, oh, well, somebody's just going to pay me for what? No, 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 no. What is the value that someone would want to buy to pay you for that thing? That thing being the business that you've created. If only you can operate the business, then it's no value for me to buy it because I no
mm,
longer will be able to operate it. You organized it the way it worked for you, but that doesn't have anything to do with common practices. It's not benchmarked against anything. It's no value then, because then I have to go back and fix it, or it's deeply discounted for that. So it's this understanding of thinking about and really focusing, I would say, let's spend our energies focusing on what are the opportunities that we see and what are the gaps that we recognize that are available. And so again, I always start with this: what is the market situation that you perceive, that you think, or what is the situation that you find yourself in your current business, where you're located, and what do you see as some opportunities for growth? Well, interesting enough, I did the same thing when I was looking at my business. And then I found that what I perceived as the market opportunity was then validated by the data. That part, validated by the data, that yes, the assumptions that you've made are accurate. And here's now some validation to support those assumptions. The problem that so many people have is when they've been groomed to be consumers, they don't understand what it looks like to create. So they're just waiting for the finished product. Okay, great. You pay more. You don't get to get any of the investment in what created the value. So you don't get the value. You don't get to be the one that was at that company that then went public, that then made a whole bunch of people millionaires and billionaires because they put the investment in the creation of the thing before it existed fully. You
mm.
show up, you're the consumer. So you're going to buy the iPhone and pay the $1,000, $1,500 for it. You didn't get to make $1 million because you were on the deal team that helped produce it. And that's the same situation that we're having, is the lens, the perspective, the focus. If nothing else, Kitty, this opportunity to speak with you, this platform, really is about taking action. So how do we do that? What's the first thing that we do? We look at the
Mm-hmm.
country, because Africa is a continent. So what specific
Mm-hmm.
country are you most drawn towards? What can you learn about that country? What makes it unique? What are the unique assets that it has? How can those assets be parlayed into opportunities? And who are the consumers of those opportunities? Who are those consumers? And
Mm-hmm.
if those consumers are able, are willing, guess what? It's not about, people say, oh, well, it's not about price. People pay for whatever it is that they want. It doesn't matter what the price is. That's wrong. You're telling yourself a story. That's not the truth. People buy value, but you must produce value.
Mm-hmm.
You got to create
Excellent,
value
excellent points.
for someone to be able to buy it. Yes, yeah.
All right. Well, as we look across the continent, I've been looking at Africa. You've been looking at Africa. We've been looking at Africa for a long time. And obviously, we do see value that many people are not yet exposed to. So, why don't we just take a moment? We'll pick out a few markets. We'll look at opportunities and see if we can match them up together in our audience's mind so that at least people will have a curiosity. Everything begins with an interest, a curiosity. I contend that the closer you look at investment opportunities in Africa, the more you are drawn to Africa. For following reasons. Number one, high profit potential. There is, of course, a high risk potential. And everyone knows that in investing, high risk equals, it could equal high profits or high amount of losses. There's also the demographics is the key. I think the key to what is happening in the world. There's growing interest in demand for African consumers, and there's growing interest in demand for African products. Africa's now entering the market. So why don't we just take a moment? We'll break down a couple of these markets, break down opportunities there, and see if we can convince our audience that this is something they should look a lot closer into.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Okay.
one country that has really drawn my attention is Rwanda. Rwanda said to be the safest and the cleanest African country there is. Have you had an opportunity to look at Rwanda?
Briefly, but Rwanda is definitely on our target list. It's a funny when I said the countries that we were starting with in the beginning, and then
Mm-hmm.
even where the shifts have come. And I'll be honest that I have evaluated each country based upon several things, but it begins with the political leadership.
Mm,
And so I start there. So I start with where I believe I have the most senior relationships in the country. But more
okay.
importantly, what is the political posture of those leaders? And how are they building out infrastructure? And, or more importantly, how is it that they're dealing with their citizens? Are they building a vision that includes their citizens? Or are they using their citizens as sort of um, cattle
Mm,
to be abused by outside foreign entrants? And so with
mm-hmm.
that, it allows me to think about, and so there are some countries, for example, that one country in particular I was really excited about and I wanted to do business with, and then suddenly they were in bed with Bill Gates, and I already knew that that's a death pill for their citizens. So I can't do that. I can't go there knowing the truth about what that alliance now means for those people. Those people have now been pawned for a different intention than building. So Rwanda, I still am looking at as a possibility, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What's up on my list? I'm Burkina Faso is on the top of the list. At this point, we're looking to develop business relationships in the immediate, future. That's on our high list. I want to source cotton and other materials and build partnerships. And in fact, one of the projects that has presented itself just right here in Trenchtown is that the high school has a fashion class fully uh, equipped to operate, but needing guidance and needing, leadership to assist in that. And so that's one of the areas I said, oh my goodness, we can not only train the students, but they can start producing the premium products, the t-shirts, the hats, the bags, the whatever else that we need to sell in the marketplace. The students can begin creating that, getting the experience, but we can monetize that. And those
Mm-hmm.
funds can contribute to their school, their education. We can then have them graduate into production facilities. We can then have them do exchanges between the students in Burkina Faso and the students here in Trenchtown. You see that? So for me, that's kind of what informs where I begin to go in exploring an opportunity with a particular country is what do they have, but more importantly, what is their posture? And where is the evidence that that posture is inclusive in nature? Because those are the folks
Mm-hmm.
that I want to be a part of doing business with. There's a paradigm shift that is happening. And I'm really interested in being part of that win-win business philosophy that creates opportunities that become sustainable. And they only become sustainable if they're win-win in nature.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. As we look across the continent, Nigeria cannot escape our attention, as it is Africa's largest market. It is also Africa's largest economic producer. It has the largest population on the continent. Are there any opportunities in Nigeria that you have been looking at?
Absolutely. Yes. And so what happened is, now it's been about 2 years ago. In my Organic Farmers Global initiative, we were looking for ways. Well, it really, evolved out of my desire to um, again extend my social impact initiative as I was building up my business. I know I came to Jamaica not to just launch and build my companies, but really to build and contribute to the ecosystem. And what I knew was Jamaica is a big farming, you know, uh, country and should be because literally it's the Garden of Eden, all the best, purest, everything is here. So yes, that's what
Mm-hmm.
they should be. But I realized that the farmers were really not benefiting as much as they could because they're selling their ingredients at again as commodities as opposed to being able to participate further upstream where they're able to produce some of the finished goods that become necessary. So I figured out, well, how could I solve that problem? And so it began with mechanizing the farmers. And so, again, looking at the cost and the limited commercial financing market for equipment, I said, well, it doesn't make sense. I don't want a farmer to spend all their working capital buying equipment. That's not the best use of limited resources. I would rather
Mm-hmm.
them have access to equipment as they need it and have it be, feasible to lease it as you need it, but then keep your working capital in places where you really need that working capital to be able to grow and scale your operations. And so that, you know, query caused me to look at opening up dealerships, equipment dealerships. And we came in contact with a company, Hello Tractor, based out of Kenya. And at that time, we became partners with Hello Tractor. And in this partnership, Hello Tractor had already begun Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, and some of those markets where Hello Tractor is available. And what Hello Tractor is a sort of is a GPS device. It's like turning your tractor into now a equipment that can be monetized and that can be leased by others. And not only is it just the functionality of being able to lease the equipment, but the technology also provides insight on soil conditions and things of that nature so that we can also improve upon the farming process. So we're not just mechanizing the activities, but also being able to investigate. And with that investigation, improve the process so that we have better yields, better harvest, more predictable cycles and things of that nature. And so, yes, so, a long way around the corner to tell you, but yes, I actually am involved in some of those regions because of these partnerships.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We had talked about this earlier. I think you had a similar program that you were developing there in Jamaica. Am I correct about sharing
Yes, yes,
farm equipment?
yes. Yes, Hello Tractor. We represent Hello Tractor in Jamaica, throughout the Caribbean, and also the US markets. And so it was my goal to get it started in the US markets, but I realized that the need was more pressing here in Jamaica and throughout the Caribbean. So, let's focus on this market because really the opportunity is between, what I've told my team, frankly, is I'm like, guys, you know, um, the real opportunity is we're playing Jamaica to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
That's our play.
Mm-hmm.
Because the numbers are staggering, and the
Mm-hmm.
data now has confirmed that Africa is looking at Jamaica as its future little play place where they fly in for the weekend now that there's direct flights and there's more to come. And so they want to see Jamaica as their little place to go and hang out and take in the culture and all of that stuff. And I'm like, guess what? We have a bunch of places that are being designed just for you in mind. Ultimate ultra luxury resorts with you in mind, first class solutions with you in mind. So come on, my brothers and sisters, and we want to play with you. We want you to have the best time that you can have because there's a bunch of you, well resourced yous, and then those who we're developing in terms of our business opportunities. Let's play as well because we have some opportunities to collaborate, and the collaborations are going to be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Similarly, we have seen development between Nigeria and one of Jamaica's cousins, and that is the island nation of Grenada. Recently, President, or not president, recently Aliko Dangote, who is, of course, Africa's wealthiest man, is the wealthiest black man in the world, flew into Grenada and attended a series of conferences and meetings, etc. Are you aware of that burgeoning relationship between Africa and Grenada, or between Nigeria and Grenada?
So again, paying attention to what's happening in the news, but at the same time, some of it is happening so rapidly that it's almost like drinking from a fire hydrant. So it's important.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to caution everyone, and this is why you want to figure out what you are focusing on. Because if you
That's
do
right.
not find a focus, you will still be run over by you won't have an opportunity to master the information that you need to master about a particular region, a particular customer base, a particular opportunity. Requires you to step back, kind of go, okay, yes, but then now let me get laser focused on what my number one, because everything can't be a one. So yes, in general, which is again why this conversation with us is so important globally throughout the diaspora. But no, in terms of no, we can't be the expert in that market opportunity just yet. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're we've got our laser focus on Jamaica, at the moment, right now, building our capacity here across the island and building that capacity knowing that we want to be ready. Here's a perfect example. So, one of the businesses that I'm involved with here in the on the island is in the process of expanding and setting up um, vehicle shops, repair shops. And I would like to say that we're probably, the model is typically very similar to what AAA would be in the US, but that type of business opportunity doesn't exactly exist here in Jamaica. So we've been working, collaborating. The CEO has been putting his business together, and I'm, on this advisory. I'm on the team in assisting, and he sent to me a video this morning showing me of a new shop that opened up on the island. And the shop was so overwhelmed by interest that they had to post a sign that they have 800 cars that are already in their pipeline. They can't even schedule any more cars for the next month or two because of the demand.
Okay.
And so
Well,
I'm like, that is our news flash. We're working on 5 locations, but you know, okay, are we prepared for the demand? But guess what's triggering the demand? Accurate ability to diagnose what's really happening with someone's vehicle, fair published prices, customer
mm-hmm,
service, that stuff. Some, it's like there are some basic things here, scheduling an appointments, things that we're accustomed to. When you bring that to a market that hasn't had that opportunity, you have willing customers saying, whoa, wait, I can get a fair price. I can know what's really happening, not a guess. I don't have to be I could get a warranty, a guarantee on the service. I'm like, so I'm texting him back. I'm going, yeah, 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 yeah. This is a great set of data that validates that there's an opportunity, but it needs to be saying something way different than, I don't know if you're interpreting what it means. You need to have
mm,
an immediate investor conversation and let them understand that you can't do the onesie twosie thing. You need to have a real hit the ground running, well developed strategy, because the second you open number one, if you're going to be bombarded with hundreds of vehicles at a time, strategy, if it's not already developed, is going to go out the window, because you're going to be just
mm-hmm,
chasing your tail. And if the team is not prepared and trained, then you're going to kill the business. This is where so many people forget. Businesses have gone out of business from being too successful, if you will, in terms of customer demand, and not having developed rigorous systems and processes to withstand too much demand. And then
mm-hmm.
so the reputation is ruined, and that'll kill a business just as fast as the effort it took trying to put the business together. You'll be out of business before you get in business good if you ruin your organization's reputation.
Mm-hmm. Excellent point that you make. Definitely. Excellent point. We were talking about investing Africa, looking at the continent. Are there any other exciting markets that you see in Africa that you think you want to be involved in?
Man, there's more than I can eat. That's why I'm telling you, I have to temper myself, focus, because I just want to go
Mm-hmm.
wild. I want
Yeah.
to lose my mind. I really do. I really do. And I feel so, I said, truly the monopoly player in me
Mm-hmm.
wants
Yeah,
to go,
I
okay, go
do
get that one, go
definitely
get,
agree.
man, but you can't have it all.
Yeah.
You can't have it all. There's plenty for look, there's trillions of dollars. Come on. I'm not even
Mm-hmm.
trying to have it all. I don't need
That's
it
right.
all. There's plenty. There's more abundance available. And so that's why confidently I'm like, we remember back when there was a TV host, and she was giving away cars. I'm like, no, you get an island, you get a business, you get
Mm-hmm.
You get sustainable wealth for your family. 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 That's what that's my give. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be the one that, yeah,
Awesome.
sustainable wealth over here. That's it, you know?
Well, I do know I personally have focused in on one key area, and that is health and wellness. Then, of course, that can be broken down into subgroups and subgroups and subgroups. The basics of health and wellness begins with food. So, for my laser focus, it begins with food and then continues to break down in so many areas. You similarly have spent a good deal of your time and a good deal of your capital, I should say, in looking at wellness and in food production. What have you been finding there?
So it's the same thing, at the end of the day, nature creates the most perfect solutions for our
I
bodies.
agree.
Uh,
Yes, yes.
Nature. It's right here in nature. And it's so sad that, it's been manipulated so much by, again, who is in charge of the food production, because they who are in charge of creating the companies that manufacture the food determine how they want to do so, what ingredients they want to use, what profit standard. They created the business plan theses for that particular operation. Sadly, not every business owner or CEO is really interested in outcomes for their consumers. Some feel that, well, we have a, market that says we're the only option, so we can kind of do it however we choose to do it,
Mm-hmm.
irrespective of the outcomes, right? So, what I've really looked at is one, making sure that there is upgraded education. And that's why you're so valuable in your knowledge, and even being able to lean into your knowledge and expertise as we continue building this. It doesn't make sense. One person is not going to have it all. What my vision has allowed is to build a team of A players. When I'm talking to the money folks now, and I'm talking to some real folks now that are really like, whoa, 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 we okay, you're now the real room. We really want to talk to you about your 10-year plan. Like we want to give you what, if you could go wild, what does that number look like? I'm doing that
Mm-hmm.
exercise right now. That plan for, well, if I could go wild, you know, and then this is what it looks like, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
in that, it looks like being able to provide, yes, healthy food. You are a raw vegan chef. You focus on food that is not processed at a in most cases, getting it
Mm-hmm.
as close to its natural state so that it maintains the nutritional value. That's the same
Mm-hmm.
reason that folks need. That's why, family was like, well, bring it to. No, I can't bring it to you. The Garden of Eden is here. You've got to come to it. If I have to bring it now, I have to tamper with its natural existence. I can pull a fresh coconut off the tree and drink it right now. And the activation in my body is way different than if I tried to package that coconut and ship it to you, depending
Mm-hmm.
upon the logistical path that it needs to take to get to you. It's losing some of its value, some of its nutrient ability, the longer it's disconnected from its source. And so
That's
I
right.
want you to get it fresh from the source so that
Mm-hmm.
everything is active and your body recognizes that. And not only that, so the food has been the core of everything. That's why I needed to know that not only will we have our farms, but hey, we need more farms than our farms. So that was why the whole Organic Farmers Global Initiative was critical for me. It's like, we can't do it all. So let me start already. Let me already anticipate a win. We're going to win, but we
Mm-hmm.
must have access to the tools that will equip us to win. And saying to the
Awesome.
farmers,
Awesome.
listen, you guys have not figured out the global market. Don't worry about it. I have. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
bring it to you in manners that you can digest it, that it won't overwhelm your business. I know you don't have
Mm-hmm.
the ability to put all the emphasis. I'm going to do it for you. And I'm going to bring you into a system. I'm going to incubate you into a winning process until we can accelerate you. How about that? And we're all
Awesome.
going to win.
Awesome. Awesome. Definitely. Now, when we are talking about investing opportunities in Africa, and we do agree there are plenty, plenty, plenty to go around, enough for us to become successful in one, and then they branch out to another and to another, and still there's going to be plenty of room. The key challenge begins at, well, the key challenge is at the beginning. How do we convince African Americans, that's largely who we're talking to today, how do we convince African Americans to use what leverage they have as connected to the continent, as the leading group of Africans in the world being able to invest? How do we convince them to go ahead and start to invest in these processes? You and I can show them examples of others doing so and being very successful. But unfortunately, African Americans are lazy,
And
or
so
they
that's
may seem
okay.
lazy.
So, well, here's the thing. It's mind. It begins with mindset. And here's the thing. Everything is not for everybody. We all get to pick what role we want to play in the system. Some people are just going to be the consumers, and they're just going to be the last ones to the table, and that's okay. That's the role that they choose to be in. So they'll consume until they run out of resources to be able to consume with. I I That's fine. That's the option. There are some people who will be looking for business opportunities and recognizing that, maybe I should be the creator. Maybe I should
Mm-hmm.
lean into what God made me as. God is a creator. So I must be a creator. Huh. So, what is it that I'm supposed to create? And what are the opportunities to create? And if you're not asking yourself then a question about creation, because again, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And the first example of our choices is in how we allocate those 24 hours. What do we value? So my day looks very different than someone else who doesn't value the same things that I value. Their day looks very different than my day. And not only their day, but even information. We could see the same data and we will interpret it differently. A consumer is going to think about consumption, and a
Mm-hmm.
creator is going to see opportunity to create. And if that mindset shift doesn't happen, that's really where it begins.
Mm-hmm.
And so all I
That
can do, as some people, let me tell you what some of my consuming successful African Americans said to me. I was telling a few folks, okay, I'm going for it. I'm packing up. I'm leaving. I'm moving to Jamaica so that I can finish this next phase of executing on the plans. This is now. It's like, cut bait or go, right?
mm-hmm.
And once it was, I made that statement. I remember I was talking to a friend, and she says, well, I said, yeah, it'd be great. I'm looking to, book families, I would say, they're middle, upper middle class. Definitely they would have enough means to take a wellness trip. But what she said to me was really interesting. She says, well, when you get to 1 billion, we'll come. And normally I sort of hold my tongue, but I
Mm-hmm.
kind of said, when I get to 1 billion, I really don't need you to come. I
Mm.
don't care if you come.
Yeah, that's the reality.
I, it would have been great if you would come earlier, but if you're
Mm-hmm.
waiting till I get to 1 billion, because guess what? I will get there. We already got the plans. We're sitting here looking at, hundreds of billions of dollars of opportunity. That's why the size of the investors have changed tremendously. The rooms that I'm in now, they're talking about being able to invest $1 billion. So if somebody invests $1 billion, that they see more than $1 billion. So
Mm-hmm.
billion check, it's there. But what you don't understand is you don't know what a diamond looks like when it's being developed. So you're missing
Mm-hmm.
the whole opportunity of where you could have invested something and had it grow exponentially. Look, prepaying for your wellness week. I was doing creative deals where I was like, look, invest and purchase a wellness week now. We'll treat it as a note. That'll contribute to our growth right now. I'll turn around and not only give you back that investment and a return on that investment. So you ended up getting it all for free and you made money doing it.
Mm-hmm.
No takers. No takers. All right, no worries. Well, guess what? I won't need to offer you any of those deals in short order. By the time you come knocking, it's closed. Everybody else at the table have already been fed. There, nothing left for you to do but be a consumer.
Mm. Yeah, we have got to get out of that. I see it largely as fear, and this fear category has kept us in check, kept us in hold, but we are breaking that
Uh,
mold.
Well, fear of what? Because here's the thing, we're supposedly the most faith driven people. And if you believe in faith, how is it that fear and faith are even in really the same statement? So,
Mm-hmm.
and funny thing is, if is I don't see that same fear showing up when we go to consume,
Mm-hmm.
products that we think make us appear a certain way. Where's the
When
fear
we should be
there?
fearful of those products.
That's where one should be fearful. But I don't see no fear there.
Yeah, I do agree. I agree with you completely. So, overcoming these short-term limitations becomes quite obviously among our initial strategies as we are building in the background our own thing, our own access to this. So, what are some of the steps that you and I can promote today that's going to get people over this self-limitation that we're calling fear?
Hurry up and try to book your wellness week at my resort, because mindset is number one, is one of the things that you need to begin working on. And that's where it
Mm-hmm.
is that we first have to work on that mindset, right? Because the mindset, meaning making a decision. If you wanted to go and buy a car, you typically start investigating a little bit, shifting that mindset, right? And so it's taking an inventory. Where we begin, each of us, is we first take an inventory. What is my current situation? Where am I along my journey? What are the strengths and weaknesses that I have personally, in terms of physically, emotionally, financially? What is my family situation? What are my constraints with where it is that I am along my journey right at this moment? What are the opportunities that exist immediately in my community, broader than my community? Maybe I should start paying attention to some world news, perhaps something other than the same propaganda. If you've only watched the same news cycle, there's a possibility that you only have one portion of what is the true story. One thing that my mother gifted me with as a young child is she used to always say, baby, read between the lines. If someone's stating X, what's missing? So, critically thinking about, what is it about this information? Why, if I turn on 5 news channels, everybody is regurgitating a portion of the same narrative? Could it be that they possibly received it from the same source? Hmm. Should I step outside of that source and consider, is there another perspective that's not being presented? That maybe if I had more pieces of that information, I could then make a more informed decision about the information that I'm receiving. So,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that you may not be looking at the full picture, but I can guarantee you're not looking at any of the picture if you're not understanding that, as I used to tell my baby Sterling when he was a baby, it's all a business. It's all a business. So either you are the creator of the business or you are the consumer of what the business is creating. It's all a business. And so, where do you want to be in that cycle, in that supply chain cycle? Are you the one that's going to be consuming the finished goods? Or are you the one that sees an opportunity to contribute to something, your talents, in a way that you're monetizing those talents in the production of those goods and services that are being consumed by others? And it doesn't mean that you're not a consumer as well. You are, but it means that you are more interested in managing that consumption. You're not spending all of your resources consuming, you're spending more of your resources creating. And it's that creation that ensures that you have sustainable resources. And so you're able to
Mm-hmm.
control not only your destiny, but your family's destiny. So as I take this self reflection of myself, then I also think about, all right, where am I on my journey? But more importantly, what is the end game? How would I want my legacy to be eulogized? You know, Stephen Covey, Dr. Stephen Covey, in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talks about begin with
Mm-hmm.
the end in mind. And that is important because that's the same thing that you're asking people to update their mindset. You can only update your mindset by changing your destination. If you have not set a clear destination, then you're like a boat that's just out at sea and you're being hit and any port of call that you land will do, as opposed to having a direct vision of a destination where you're headed. And that's why even when I say to you is no, I can't just go, yeah, there's trillions of dollars in opportunity. So if I keep focused on the trillions, I will miss a niche opportunity because I can't eat the $1 trillion whale. I
Mm-hmm.
have to find my niche. What is my niche? What is my opportunity within that? And it might only be worth $100 billion. Okay, 100 billion is not bad.
That's not bad.
It may only be worth $50 billion. It may be only worth 50 million. That's not bad. It's what is my piece that I'm going to laser focus on so that I can successfully execute and allow that to become my reality. And it
Awesome.
begins with a
Awesome.
decision. So it starts with that mindset.
Mm-hmm. So the mindset is the first start at the
It's
beginning.
it's
Beyond that,
after you begin to set that mindset, then you're able to do an honest interrogation. What is it that you have that allows you
mm-hmm.
to now further your desires? And what are the gaps that you need to gain information so that you can make better decisions about this? And so, what it is to me, this is the mindset that I carry. One, at a base level, I love to learn, love to
Mm-hmm.
learn. So, for me, along my life's journey, I am happy seeing myself both as a student, as a teacher, as a student. Student, teacher, student. That's the continuum. And because I'm able to hold myself in that space, my mindset presents opportunities, an abundance of opportunities for me to both be the student to learn and then take what I've learned to go and teach it so that I really solidify what I'm learning and then go and learn some more so that I can continue that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my
Yeah.
mindset. I never tire of learning.
Mm-hmm.
It's a choice. It's why at the so-called end of my day, no, I'm not on a idiot box watching. I'm not up on the latest on who did what, who killed Joe, and who slapped this one, and what this one is doing. And I saw people spending time talking about, uh, I popped on social media because I posted something and I just wanted to see if it had any engagements. And I couldn't hardly see that because I'm seeing, some person dealing with a lawsuit. It's the same story, a different day, a different dude.
And of course,
it's,
part
it's
of
the same,
that.
it's the same story. It's mindset. It's the same, it's the same foolishness all over, different day, different dude. Tomorrow will be same story, different day, different dude, sadly, because they don't learn. They keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Different dude led by different brain.
Yeah. Well, when you say that mentality being propagated across mass media is intended to keep us from pursuing these things that would actually empower us, especially empower us against the narrow group of people who want it all for themselves.
Yeah, those people who are in mental slavery, absolutely. It is for them, but it isn't
Hmm.
for me because, keep it pushing. I went to get what I needed to get. I noticed that had a lot of engagement. I got a couple people, again, because it's not important, right? But that's okay because I'm not doing it for the applause. I'm doing it to demonstrate what one does when they're building something, the
Hmm.
decision that one makes, because the discipline that you make it becomes, it's the personal discipline. You start investing in again your gaps. When you're building a business, when you're doing anything that you're focused on, what tends to happen is your life gets out of balance. It's going to be out of balance because you need to focus on what it is you're investing in, and that requires focus. So what I'm demonstrating is in the midst of having to give 98% of my energy towards what I'm focusing on, I'm sort of slowly carving out a few minutes to realize too, I need to preserve my vessel, and I better get it also still back in alignment. Can't let it go too long because the
Hmm.
further away you get from that balance, the more you put yourself at risk for other chronic conditions. And I'm noticing, if you don't move, you won't move.
Hmm.
So again, but that messaging is missed. It's not important because
Hmm.
to the mentally enslaved, I'm not a valuable brand enough for them yet to want to consume my content. But it'll change because it always changes, right? When the outcome of my efforts manifest, now suddenly I'm worth being consumed. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that because then what you're consuming is, you're again doing what you use. I was trying to get you to make some money with me. All right, you could be a consumer if that's all you want to do. That's fine. I was just trying to. I was trying to go. Hey, let me hold your hand so we could both get to the finish line together and see what that looks like. But you
That's
know,
right. All right. It is about time for us to begin to wrap it up. But we want to leave people with tangibles to the very best of our abilities. Um, what is ahead for the 420 wellness program that you have been working on? Recently, we just had an experience where we had two people come out to our home. You've been to our home before here in the Lake Shores area, and it was a wonderful time. We had one person stay 2 weeks, and they were here specifically to get their healing on. It was a phenomenal experience. In fact, I'm going to interview the two brothers who came out tomorrow, and they can talk about what they did experience and how all of these markers for their health change so rapidly. So this is the intention that you have, and I share with you about the 420 wellness. community and wellness retreats. I'm getting a lot of background noise. Is there something going on over there?
Yes, I happen to be at a place where an entrepreneur is building. And I was,
Okay.
trying to move to a good place where I could also be close to the internet. That was a little bit of my hustle this morning. But they're building,
Okay.
and these brothers
Okay.
are
That's
working hard. So sorry about that. But
no, no,
yes,
no
what
need
people,
to
yeah.
apologize at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to so 420 Wellness is one of the brands in our portfolio of brands. Let me kind of give a bigger context. So Zeniverse Wellness Group is the parent company and the parent brand, and we have four active brands under this umbrella of organization. So I'd like you all to think of a Zeniverse Wellness as like any other hotel, so like the Hilton, but for wellness. All of our brands deal with wellness. And so we're launching our new Soar Ibogaine Spa. And I don't know if you're familiar with Ibogaine. It is a plant-based herb that is sourced from Central Africa, and it's gaining a lot of traction in the media. Governor Rick Perry and others have become big advocates and are pushing for the US to run uh, FDA clinical trials on its effectiveness because of anecdotal outcomes, as well as other studies that have been done. There was a Stanford study done and some other studies. And again, this was used in rituals in some of the African tribes, but its major impact is that if you're dealing with any types of addictions, and at the end of the day, that we're all addicted to something, right? If it's not sugar, if it's not, you know, there's something, right? There's an underlying something that can be running through your system in a way that's causing your chemical balance within your body to be imbalanced. And you need
Mm-hmm.
to correct that. You need to detox from that so that you can get things back in alignment and balance. And if you have cravings for certain things, it's usually as a result of those things that are creating certain triggers in your brain. And so this particular protocol is able to not only address addictions, typically when people are going through withdrawal, the withdrawal process is so brutal that that's usually what prevents people to successfully, you know, release whatever it is their poison of choice. And so this particular protocol accelerates and is able to get a person through their withdrawal process in about 48 hours. And after one treatment, for most people, 80% are completely, there's no relapse. And with a second treatment, that jumps to 97%. And there's, no adverse impacts, but only certain regions of the world are able to offer this particular treatment, and we are able to offer it here in Jamaica. So one of our first locations we're opening up is our SOAR Ibogaine Spa, and we'll be taking our first guest August 1st at our first location here in Jamaica. And then our other assets, so we have Amani Haba, which will be coming online as well. And we have the 420 Wellness brands, the 420 Wellness. We have several 420 locations that'll be opening up as well. And then we have several of these SOAR Ibogaine spas that will be opening. And then our ultra luxury brand, Turquoise, that we won't build a ground up location for about 3 to 5 years. It's $1 billion development by itself. But what we're introducing into the market are our turquoise villas. And our turquoise villas are villas, again, that's catering to, it's ultra luxury. So that's where our guests who fly in on private jet, they're, taken to the resort either by, well, we're going to be doing seaplanes. We have seaplanes that will fly them to the villa because typically they're waterfront locations, or helicopter them to the particular location where they'll be staying. And so it allows them to maintain privacy and ultimate and security for their experience as well. And so Yeah, we're coming on strong. We're coming on strong. I'll have the full schedule of the rolling openings of the various locations, and these are locations all around the island. And so each location speaks very specifically to a niche audience that we are addressing. The underlying idea is that all of them deal with wellness, but each of them have
Hmm.
a different specific audience. So our 420 brands, I like to say, are there are hip, funky, kind of for those who are interested specifically in learning more about medicinal cannabis or psilocybins. That's that brand. But Amani Haba is more of a family friendly, global, international brand. And then our turquoise, again, is, global, international, ultra luxury experiences. And our SOAR Ibogaine spas are going to be, they're what my law school administrators asked me when I was in school and I started building this. And they were like, well, we have a big problem in the legal field in particular with substance abuse, and it's really impacting people's careers because that's not something that you are going to win with. Eventually your organs are going to fail, or your life is going to be so disrupted that you're going to fail. You can't sustain these addictions indefinitely. Eventually
Awesome.
they're going to win.
People are going to need to know how to maintain contact with you. I just put up a
So
link
I
to 420wellnessjamaica.com. Is that a good site to contact you?
That's fine. And then ZeniversWellnessGroup.com. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So
I'll
yeah.
put
So
that up
420
as
Wellness
well.
is fine too. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Okay. All right. Your final thoughts for today's program, where we're talking about investing Africa opportunities are there. Talk to the people one more time about that.
Yes, please take a moment and just think about how would you like to spend the next 5, 10, 20 years of your life? Even if it is that you are ready for retirement. Are you thinking about your kids, your kids' kids? It's our responsibility to leave a legacy and inheritance for our kids' kids, right? So invest in a business with them so that that business can grow and flourish for them. Change your family's legacy. There's plenty of opportunity to do so. Remember that book, Who Moved My Cheese? The cheese has moved. So you need to go and
Hmm.
get where the cheese is in abundance so that you can participate in that movement. And take care of you
Awesome.
so that you can take care of them.
Awesome. And once again, that Xenoverse Wellness website is?
ZeniversWellnessGroup.com.
Gotcha. All right, Dr. Steph, I thought we did a good job today. Now let's just wait and see how many of our listening audience are able to catch up with this
Hey,
dynamic. All right.
the train
Thank you
is
very much
moving,
for being
so
with us.
now's the time. Thank you, thank you, thank you for having
Absolutely.
me as always.
Thank you for being with us. We look forward to 2 weeks from today. We will be back again with Show Me the Money with Dr. Steph. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you. To my co-host today, we do appreciate, love you being with us. We love you being in Jamaica. We also, I want to let you know that you can pick up on the latest book. I actually had a book come out since the last time we talked last week, the new book, A Year Against Cancer with Living Superfood Solutions. It's all about prevention of cancer. And if you can't prevent it, the best way to deal with cancer is to never get cancer in the first place. But if you can't prevent it, then you do need to know how to overcome cancer. By the time the cancer is now affecting 2 out of every 5 people in their lifetime, that's the real pandemic that we should be focused on. And so we welcome that. There's another one coming out here, shh, real quickly. And on that note, I'm going to take a pause for today. I'm going to turn you over to our archive. And we have a large archive for you to be dealing with here on your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are living in black.com. So tell your friends to tell their friends that we have our own now. And you know something? We're really grateful for what we have, where we have come from, but more intensely or more intentionally, I should say, we are very, very grateful to where we're going. And that's why you tune into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIV Radio, LIV TV. We are living in black.com. So, on that note, I have some bumper music I want to push up here. And we are out of here for today. It's been a good day here on the LIV Radio Network because I didn't even have to use my AK, as Ice Cube would say. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.